Record. All right, yeah, we are live. We're see if anybody will show up. We'll give them a few minutes. So how's everyone today? Good.
Great.
Trying to
Tired.
work through work issues. Yeah.
I stayed up and watched the whole game last night, so,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Football.
No, baseball.
Oh, who won?
The Rays,
The
they're
Rays
going to
did,
the
so
World
I'm from Texas,
Series.
but I was kind of rooting for the Rays.
They're gonna go play the best team ever assembled, probably.
The Dodgers.
Dodgers are all
I don't know.
unbelievable.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's like the richest against the
First
poor.
off,
What?
It's like the richest against the poorest.
I don't know about that. Tampa Bay's got a lot of money.
No, they're
They've got
the,
one of the smallest payrolls in baseball.
right.
Yeah, but they got a lot of money. That owner's got a lot of money. He can throw money at it.
Yeah, he's
He
just
wants
like
to.
any
They
other
don't
player.
They just don't spend it.
yeah, but they don't pay for their players, like, the Yankees had the highest.
Dodgers.
Well, they always
Dodgers
have. They
had the
always have,
highest,
yeah.
Yeah,
Kershaw's
Blew
a
him out of the
joke,
water.
remember?
Any of those big market clubs are going to have massive payrolls. All right. Not sure if usually we have Melissa joining us, but I'm not sure if she's here today or not. So, I always like to I like to start kind of these Bible studies just by you were all at the Ali wasn't at the service. I'll want to read the gospel again. That's what I want to talk about today. Because there's so much in there to unpack, and so I just want to let me read it. I also provided for you this morning the Exodus reading because I want to go back to parts of it. We're not going to look at the whole thing. There's a lot there to unpack as well, but we're going to go back to at least just part of it. So I wanted to have the copy there for you to read. So let's read Matthew from the Gospel according to Matthew. Chapter 22, verses 15 through 22. The Pharisees went and plotted to entrap Jesus in what he said. So they sent their disciples to him, along with the Herodians, saying, "Teacher, we know that you are sincere and teach the way of God in accordance with truth, and to show deference to no one, for you do not regard people with partiality. Tell us then, what do you think? Is it lawful to pay taxes to the emperor or not?" But Jesus, aware of their malice, said, "Why are you putting me to the test, you hypocrites? Show me the coin used for the tax." And they brought him a denarius. Then he said to them, "Whose image is this, and whose title?" They answered, "The emperor's." Then he said to them, "Give therefore to the emperor the things that are the emperor's, and to God the things that are God's." When they heard this, they were amazed, and they left him and went away. So you will notice the translation. I did change one word from head. Whose head is this the image? The Greek word used there is icon, and it strictly speaking is an image. I don't know why the translators of this particular translation translated the way they did, and honestly, I didn't bother to look. But it should. I think it should be image. So whose image is this? You'll notice the translation there. So as I like to do, when I read that, what did you hear, and what did you feel as you were hearing that read, if anything?
Well, I noticed the first thing that Jesus said, that he let them know that he realized they were trying to trap.
Oh yeah.
They
Jesus
weren't
knew.
putting anything over them.
Yeah. They're not gonna. Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. That's a good observation. That Jesus knew from the start they were trying to trap him.
Right.
Yeah.
They weren't just asking an innocent question.
Yeah.
Well, on that thought, I'm just wondering, now to say it, so to say it awkwardly, is he a mind reader? I've heard someone say before, he knew their thoughts. He is God.
Well, I'll answer it like this.
Go on a bunny trail.
This isn't the first time this has happened.
Right.
So, I mean, by the 22nd chapter of by the 22nd chapter of Matthew's gospel, Jesus has had enough encounters with the Herodians and the Pharisees and the elders of Jerusalem to know what they're
What they're
about.
like.
Yeah.
And again, not bunny trailing, but did he know the thoughts of the stranger?
We're gonna. I don't want to go down that bunny trail, and that's a bit too
So
much
that's a good
into
point
the
to make.
theology
He knew what they were
of
like
Jesus
anyway.
of Jesus being. So we can talk about that another time. But here, I mean, this is an indication of Jesus. You know that Jesus has had encounters with these men before, right? He knows what they're about, and they're trying to trap him. And it's a very clever trap. If you heard my sermon, it's a very clever trap because there's really no good way out for Jesus. And he finds one, but there doesn't appear to be a good way out, right? In saying that, I mean, if he says that no, it's not lawful, he's going to be arrested by the soldiers and by the Herodians. The Herodians being the puppet government, you know, that are propped up by Caesar and by Rome, right? So they're going to be arrested. And if he says that it is lawful, then he loses the trust of the people, because they didn't like paying paying Roman taxes. You know, they paid their taxes to the temple, which was their religious duty and their duty to nation. They were fine with that in general, but they didn't like paying the taxes to this foreign power, this pagan king, much less a pagan king who thought he was God, right? And so yeah, that you know, there's really no way, there's no good way out for Jesus in this trap. So anything else that anybody hear or feel as they heard this? No? Okay. All right. So what we have here then is the trap being set, and then Jesus gets out of the trap. He gets out of the trap by, it's kind of clever, right? So he says, give me a denarius, give me that image, give me that coin that you used to pay the taxes. And who has to give him that coin? The Pharisees, right? That, you know, he doesn't have one himself. He doesn't carry one. Why? Because the image itself carrying that image itself is a violation of the covenant. Right, because that image, it's an image of a false god, right? It's an image of the Caesar, of Tiberius Caesar's, as it would have said on that coin, son of divine Augustus, right? So Tiberius Caesar himself is claiming to be the son of God, right? In this sense, and so they're carrying that in. First of all, they're paying homage to a false god, violation of the first commandment, and they're carrying a false image, right? Which is a violation of the second commandment, right? So
Just by carrying.
What? Just by carrying it, yeah. That's why that Jesus isn't wasn't carrying a coin, and he wasn't carrying that image of the false god. It's okay to carry a coin. The problem here is, what coin was it?
Because there were other coins.
There were other coins. Yeah, there were temple minted coins
That's what I was
that didn't have that image on it, right? Or other things.
So he knew that they were going to give him that coin.
Yeah. I mean, he suspected, let's say, that they had a coin that they were used to pay those taxes, right? That's why they're asking, is it okay to pay the taxes? And Jesus says, well, give me the coin. I mean, let me see the coin. Whose coin is it? Who does this belong to? How can you tell who it belongs to? By whose image is on it? By whose image is imprinted on the coin? And it's Tiberius Caesar's image imprinted on the coin. So Jesus is basically saying, yes, go ahead, give it back to him. Be done with the cursed thing. Give it back to Caesar. It belongs to Caesar because that's his image. What's the implicit? So there is an underlying subtle implication here, is that whose image do we bear? Right? That's the big question here. And because I mean, we know the answer to that question, right? We bear the image of God, as all people do. Because all humanity is created in the image and likeness of God. And so we bear God's image. So we should give that image, that we should give that with the image imprinted back to God. In other words, we should enter into the kingdom, into the kingdom life, and allow and make space for all those people in the world that bear the image of God. Make space in the kingdom for them as well. And it's the whole point. But what does it mean? The big question for us in kind of this Bible study for the next 15 minutes is to determine what it means to bear the image of God and what impact that can have in our world. So that's why I brought the Exodus reading in today. And I think that's why the creators of the lectionary actually use the Exodus reading in this image today. So if you'll notice at the end of the story, I'm not going to read the whole thing. This is from Exodus 33. This is after the covenant's been made, and when Moses comes back down from the mountain, the people have sinned. It's chapter 32. The people have sinned by creating that golden calf, right? And creating that false image, and they're worshiping that golden calf. And Moses comes down and basically throws the tablets down, and they break and all this kind of stuff. And then in chapter 33, Moses begins to plead with God and drawing people up the mountain. And so, and this is the Lord's response to Moses. I will do the very thing that you have asked. In other words, I will forgive the people, for you have found favor in my sight, and I know you by name. Moses said, show me your glory, I pray. And he said, I will make my goodness pass before you, and will proclaim before you the name, the Lord, and I will be gracious to whom I will be gracious, and I will show mercy on whom I will show mercy. But he said, you cannot see my face, for no one shall see me alive. No one shall see me and live. Eliding words here. No one shall see me and live. And the Lord continued, see, there is a place by me where you shall stand on the rock, and while my glory passes by, I will put you in the cleft of the rock, and I will cover you with my hand until I have passed by. Then I will take away my hand, and you shall see my back. But my face shall not be seen. That word face in the Hebrew is translated into the Greek Old Testament as icon. The same image, the same word that's used in the Matthew reading. So when we read in the Old Testament text about the glory of God, the face of God, rather, we are reading about that same idea of the icon of God, the image of God, and that is what is implanted on us. And what is that image? It's the image of glory, right? And so the big question is, what does that look like in our daily lives? What does it look like to bear the glory of God in our daily lives? And what would it be like if that glory was fully shown in us to the world, as it was in Jesus? You see, when Jesus came down, was incarnate, he is the fullness of God. That is the full glory of God. God showed his face to us in Jesus, right? What does it look like when we show forth the full glory of God, the full icon, the full image of God in us to the world? Can it be done, first of all? And what would it mean?
Yeah, by our actions, deeds,
Yeah.
the things we do.
Certainly in our actions and our deeds.
Be servants and loving and
Yeah.
humble and giving and all of those things that God is.
Yeah, the humble, generous giving and in love. Yeah.
Exactly. We're certainly called to do it.
Yeah.
We're told to do it, we can do it, especially with the Holy Spirit now empowering us. Simply put, the love, like you say, love God and love man.
Yeah. And Jesus gave us those two. Jesus gave us that the summation of the law, which was how in the Old Testament, the law, the reality of the law was less about the minutia and more about how they were to live the glory of God in the world, how they were to live their own present, or how they were to be present in the world and show forth God's light and God's grace. And so when Jesus sums up the law, that's what he's summing up. He's summing up that way in which we show glory, show the face of God to the world in glory. So we love the Lord our God with all our heart, mind, body, and soul, and we love our neighbor as ourselves.
And also like the word generous was thrown out there.
Oh yeah, generosity. Yeah, that's very good.
You know,
Paul
the
line.
generosity of Christ is the that is the godly generosity to the point of giving himself for us, the world.
Yeah, he humbled
the
himself.
image bearers of God who have fallen.
Yeah,
That generosity that's the big test. Or can I, as you said, go beyond what I'm comfortable with? No, I can love comfortably. No doubt.
yeah, right.
But generous is a really, really challenging word.
It is. You're right. That's a good point. That it's very easy for us to love others. Whatever word you want to use there, love, respect, care for, be compassionate towards. It's very easy for us to do all these things up to our comfort level or in our comfort level. But when the Lord says with your whole body, mind, soul, and spirit, that goes beyond our comfort levels. That goes to the suffering servant of Isaiah, right? It goes to Jesus on the cross, right? Jesus went to the cross because he loved so mightily, when Jesus tells us to pick up our cross and follow him, this is what Jesus is talking about. It's talking about loving people beyond our comfort levels. I like that image there. Yeah. And what a mighty impact that could have, not just on the church, but on all of God's creation, right? If we chose to do that in our lives. Yeah. It's not always easy though.
But not meant to be.
Not meant to be, yeah. Well,
If
yeah.
I could do it on my own, I wouldn't need the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, it's not always easy, and with we taking this gospel reading to heart, it's deciding what bears the image of the emperor that we need to give back. Are there things in our lives that bear the image of the emperor that we're holding on to, that we just don't want to get rid of? Right here, the emperor, of course, here being the metaphor for whatever evil, the metaphor for uncontrolled power, the metaphor for various things like this. So what in our lives, a metaphor maybe even for sin? What are we holding on to that bears the emperor's image or Caesar's image that we need to give back because it doesn't belong to God, and it's actually obscuring the image of God in us?
Well, first thing I think of when you say that is, tax day every year. I mean, I think of the image that
Well, yeah.
I honestly don't want to, give it back.
Sure.
I don't know if that's.
Well, I'm reluctant to go down the road of church and state kind of stuff because I don't.
No, I didn't mean that.
Political philosophy.
I have a personal
desire
to keep it.
Yeah. We all, right. We have this. We all do. I think. I mean, let's be honest. We all have this kind of deep desire to hold on to that money, right? And I'm not.
That's what I mean.
I'm not going. Yeah, I hear you now. Yeah, I'm not going good or bad. I mean, but we all have this. What is our connection to that money? Is that and money becoming Caesar, or is it? Are we using it to show forth the divine image? Well, money is neutral, right? It all depends on how it's used and what it's used for. So, and how can we, on the other side of that coin, no pun intended. Well, actually, it was intended, but on the other side of that coin, so you have Caesar's image. What in our lives, is holding on to Caesar. What in our lives, that bears that divine imprint, are we holding back? Are we not letting shine forth with glory? I think these are kind of those are obviously rhetorical questions, unless you want to answer them. But there are these things that that hold us back from fully living the divine presence and the divine glory.
Well, because I do want to hear somebody's answer to this. I'm just,
All right.
Besides the treasure part, I think time, talent, or treasure, I hold back.
Yeah.
I said the treasure part.
Sure.
The time, the way I want to spend the time. Again, I want to hear somebody there or an answer from you. But
Yeah.
I do very much like to, it's a struggle. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, I'll give time, talent, treasure. And then other days it's like, I want my time. I want to do
Well, no,
it.
yeah,
I don't know if that's what you're.
yeah, I mean,
It could be just as easy as like your anger towards people.
yeah,
Or how
Right,
you
that's a
treat
good one.
people who wrong you, or,
yeah,
holding on to something that is
Thank you.
really healthy for yourself, or,
yeah,
that God forgave everybody and still does, that unchanging love and grace, and we need to exhibit that as hard as that is
yeah.
all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, I had a confessor once who talked about the idea that many of us, for a lot of us, the holding on to resentment is this Caesar's coin. That it kind of holds us back from bearing the divine image fully. Whether we, holding the resentment towards others, even in a general way, resentment towards a group of people, or or lack of forgiveness, towards folks. Yeah, all these things can be Caesar's coins for us. We need to kind of get rid of. So yeah, I do that with some. That does happen sometimes with my time. With me, that I know now in the era of COVID, it's kind of become a little different. But before that, there were times when I know very well that I spent too much time in my office, right, or too much time with my books, and not enough time with the people that I need to serve, right. So that's the the draw. Some things that draw, maybe that's Caesar's coin for me. Maybe draws me away from what I should probably be doing here. But it's about balance too in our lives. So I think that in our consumer society, if there's one ism I think that defines 21st century America, it's consumerism. I think that consumerism can be a huge Caesar's coin for a lot of us.
Well, if you define yourself by what you have or what you own, that's
Yeah.
definitely
Right.
It shouldn't be about what you have and what you own. It should be about what you do for others and how you are to people, and loving and helpful and like a servant, like
Yeah.
Jesus was. And sometimes that's really hard to do.
Oh yeah, it can be very hard to do. Yeah, if we define ourselves by what we own or what we have, I mean, even for that matter, what we do, right? I remember a friend of mine used to talk. Was very much defined by his career, right? And I think that it's a bad definition of being. That we should be, as Christians, we understand ourselves defined by the inscription, the image implanted in our lives, the image of God, and then the inscription of our baptism, you know, the cross of Christ. So that should be our definition rather than other things. So yeah, I think you're right on there. How we define ourselves is key to this understanding. So. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we will, for those of you interested, we're doing confirmation classes. Check your FYI for dates for those confirmation classes coming up. All right, I don't know if any of you's out there, but glad you joined us.
Well done.
Before I roll, so when will you find out?